Good, Amanda. No. How do you like your depth at wide receiver?
I like it, man. Where we're at last year compared to this year, man, I kind of felt like last year we only had about, 4 to 5 guys that could, play, that we trusted, This year, man, I think we're going to be in the 7 to 8 range. I feel really good about some transfers we brought in. Obviously, we got some guys back that played last year, and then what's been real impressive with the 3 freshmen that came in. I mean, just for guys that just got here, man, just learning the system, making plays, being coachable. I'm excited about our depth there. I think our offensive speed is going to be faster. Hopefully, that will translate into create some more explosive plays. So we ain't got to drive it, 13 plays down the field, So that's kind of the expectation this year, is hopefully we can stretch the defense vertically even more, and which will kind of help everybody out.
You had 3 transfer offensive linemen. What were you looking for when you were recruiting that position and trying to add to depth there?
I mean, really 2 things. Me and Coach Darver kind of keep it simple. We want athletic guys that can bend. If you're going to try to get the ball in space and move people laterally and be able to pass pro, you got to be able to bend like an NFL lineman does. You got to be able to pass pro, right? So that's the number 1 thing. And number 2 is we want to be tough. It's not always about how tall you are, or obviously length matters, right? Like we care more about arm length and that such thing. But we want guys that can move, that can bend, and that are tough. That show that they are powerful, tough football players on film. And I feel like we hit on all 3 of those guys, which is good to see, man. They're all 3 tough kids, and all 3 can move. And just spring's been great for us compared to last year, just because in the run game we're getting a hat on the hat a lot. Like we're not having a lot of free runners, not as many negative runs, and it also shows, even our O-line with Coach Stack, man, like Bear's down 20 pounds from last year. Our guys are in great shape right now up front, and we're moving really well. So I'm excited where we're at.
With those transfers, how important was experience as well, getting guys who might be ready to play right away?
Yeah, I mean, experience is obviously the number 1 thing. We obviously wanted competition. So to me, it's my job as the offense coordinator to bring in competition, right? It's my job to have, I don't want just 5 linemen that can play. I want 10 linemen that can play. You want to try to be at least 2 deep everywhere you are. Does that make sense? So same thing receiver, right? Like we want to bring competition. So bringing in guys that played a lot of football, that started, that show that they've experienced, going through ups and downs. That matters because, like I said, in the season, they're going to be up and down. There's going to be times where things are going great, and there's going to be times where it's not going very good, right? So, it's good to have guys that have been through those things and understand what it takes to try to play consistent football.
You mentioned Ryan losing weight. What have you seen from him this spring?
Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been awesome, man. I think he was really pissed off about last year, just being honest. He felt like he could have played better. And so I've just seen him, man, just, his from a lot of people take off breaks after the season, and next thing you know, I see him, he's already back training, during December, during Christmas and stuff. So seeing him, he didn't really take a break. He just wanted to get better and better. And just the way he's transformed his body. And now he really understands the offense and what we're trying to get accomplished. And so just seeing him just be more consistent this spring, that's what's been the great thing about him, is that, he don't really have the boneheaded, the couple like just shoot sacks or missed blocks, right? Like this spring, he's been super consistent in just getting a hat on a hat and playing with low pad level and just understanding what we're trying to do with the pocket with the quarterback. So I'm just excited where he's at, and as a leader, man, he's a type of kid that's really hard on himself, So he's going to expect more from himself than he does everybody else, So that's what you want as a leader, a guy who shows that.
Kane, how has it impacted your spring to not only know that you have Eli as a starting quarterback, but that he's been a year in your system?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. It sucks the way the season ended. With him out. Like he missed so much time. Really the last, obviously four games or something like that, and then missing the whole ball practice. He didn't get any reps there, and was having surgery and all that. So, but for him to come back, man, and get cleared right before spring ball. He's still not, like I said, 100% with his, with trust in his ankle and his body. But, just having him now mentally where, he understands what we're trying to get accomplished on the field, He understands in the meetings, like now he's starting answering the questions. Last year when he became the starter, basically the first week of the season, right? Like, it was still a whirlwind for him, you know. Like he was just trying to do what I'm telling him to do, you know. Now he's starting to, you know, understand, like, you know, by the time we get to the film room, he's like, yeah, I know I did this, or, you know, yeah, I know what you want me to do here, you know. Like he's starting to answer the questions, and once, you know, as a quarterback, when you can answer the questions before the OC, you know, tells you something, that means we're going to be in a lot better situation, you know.
You have Eli as QB1, but then you also have Julian, who has made a lot of strides.
Yeah.
And bringing in Mason as a freshman, sounds like he's been doing well as well. How important is that competition, not only for Eli, but for some of those guys as well?
Yeah, you know, for me, man, you know, I'm all about development, right? Like I think as a quarterback, you have to get reps. You have to spend time developing those guys, right? And, you know, when I got here, just being honest, like, spring was hard last spring. I mean, we had 7 or 8 quarterbacks, you know, like, how am I supposed to get everybody reps and really, you know, see what they can all do? It's really hard, you know, and then try to develop them, you know, because they're just not getting enough. So, you know, we made me and coach just sat down and talked and said, you know what, like, we feel really good about where Duggar could be, you know, and obviously Mason coming in, like, we felt really great about him as a freshman. And it's like, you know what, like, let's see if we can develop these guys this spring, right? Like, yeah, we only have 3 on scholarship, but they're talented. And let's see how good they can get with a bunch of reps. You know, I looked at our stat, you know, just, you know, I keep up with the stats every day, and we've thrown the ball close to 900 times this spring, you know? So think about, mostly 3 guys got reps, right? So think about all the reps they got this spring, you know, just the experience of playing quarterback and running the team and getting rid of the ball and understanding coverage and how to handle hots, because our, you know, defense blitz a lot. So, you know, just them getting the reps, you know, is great for them. You know, Duggar's taking a big stride just playing the position. You know, he showed obviously in this bowl game that he's really athletic, man, and the quarterback run and some things you can do with him is pretty cool. But you just, you know, learning how to play the game of quarterback, learning how to lead, learning how to be consistent as a quarterback, he's made a huge stride. And obviously, you know, Mason, for a young guy, I mean, he's very mature. He showed up from day one like a pro. I mean, I can't keep him out of my office. So that's a good thing, though, for a young guy. He's not coming here thinking that he's going to redshirt. Does that make sense? And when you got a young guy like that, man, it makes everybody better, because it's like, I got to even do more, because if he's a freshman doing that, right, like that's the expectation, you know? So it's not doing the bare minimum at quarterback. You know, I tell our kids, I tell them all the time in that room, it's not just, you know, watching practice one day or watching the next day, like, are you up here at the office? Are you meeting with the receivers? Are you throwing after practice, right? Like, we're not here just to do the bare minimum at quarterback, right? If you want to be a great quarterback and you want to take your game to another level, like, you got to do more than ever, man. You got to be the hardest working guy in the room, in the building, really. So trying to, you know, get that expectation and get them to understand that's been big this spring.
Coach Narduzzi had mentioned that you might have packages for Julian.
Yeah.
Just how dynamic can he make this offense?
Yeah, you know, obviously, you know, that's kind of game plan, right? You know, and the great thing too is I know obviously Eli can run too, right? So it's not like you got to change up some of the run stuff that we do. But the great thing about it is that now you have teams that have to game plan for that, right? You now take some hits off Eli, right? So there's a lot of cool things you can do with getting him on the perimeter, letting him read people, and just do some different things that can help the running backs out or help the run game out, right? Like, obviously, we ran the ball a lot better early in the year. Well, you know, you have Eli who can run the ball and do those things too. Does that make sense? So when you got a guy like that, man, there's some fun things that you can do.
Could you diagram those plays for us up on the board?
What's up?
Could you diagram those Julian plays for us up on the board there?
Oh, yeah, I already got them in my head right now, you know. So there's some cool things you can do. So I'm excited, man. It just makes you be more creative, you know. And what it does is it shows that, you know, we're creating depth. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like, we don't, listen, me and my dad talk about this all the time, right? Like, who wants to just have one quarterback that can play? You know, like, that don't make any sense to me. Why not, you know, if we got 3 or 4 on scholarship, why can't they all be great players, you know? And I feel like you got to have that, you know, to create competition for kids to get better. And you want them to feel like that there's good players behind them, you know, and they are going to push themselves.
As you look back at last season, what are the points that stand out to you that you would point out and say, you know, it was clicking? That was really what we wanted to do in terms of the tempo and how you were approaching it. When was it really working the way it's supposed to work?
Yeah, you know, I would say really the North Carolina game. And the reason I say that is because from the first drive till the end of the game, we played a complete offensive game, I thought. You know, and what I mean by that is, you know, obviously a good team and a team that had a lot of talent on the defense side of the ball up front. And but, you know, we just clicked, you know, when it came to, we were able to run the ball that game, we were able to throw the ball down the field, we were able to throw it and get the ball in our hands. So we just played really efficient football, and we were also able to play fast, right? And so, that was the game that really, like, okay, we got a chance here, right? And to make a run, and obviously we were super healthy then. And up front, man, that's the biggest thing, right? Like, you got to be able to control the line of scrimmage, and we got to be able to run the ball. Teams want to play too high and drop 8. Like, we got to be able to run the football at people. Like, that's what this offense is, right? Like, I tell people all the time, we want to be the best team in the country able to throw it on first down. Like, we do, because if we can throw the ball early, then, hey, it opens up the run game, right? Teams have to play more deep coverage, play more too high, right? And now we can run the football and gash people, right? Like, I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't want to run the ball with 2 yards of cloud dust. Like, I want people to be so scared, we're so good at throwing it, that they're like, oh, we got to play deep, right? A little bit like SMU did, play deep. And then, hey, we got to go show that we can run the football at people. And we want to create big runs, And now it's like, okay, what do we do? How do we stop both? So we want to be great at doing both. So hopefully we can do that this year.
Cade, who's stepping out as other options at tailback? Like, anyone really taking advantage?
Yeah, we had a small room this spring. We had 2 obviously high school guys committed. And, we kind of, one of our other top guys that we had on our board came available late in the season that was from Louisville and decommitted from Louisville. So for us, it was like, do we want to take a transfer, or, hey, man, like, why not take a great high school player if we think he's great, a kid that we can develop and bring him in here. So we took 3 high school running backs, and they're all a little different, which is great, right? You got Boozy, who's, 5'9", over already 180-something pounds after getting here. He's going to be a 190, 200-pound kid who can fly. You got another one that's coming in that ran 10.5 who probably can run too. And then you got a bigger kid coming in who's close to 5'11", 109 pounds already. And he also ran 10.9. So, like, we got a bunch of different guys in that room now. But really this spring, the one, really 2 guys that, Jules obviously got hurt. So, we haven't got to see him as much. And I thought he got a lot better reading the runs and understanding what we're trying to do, obviously, a second year in the offense. But, Boozy's been pretty done some pretty cool things, man. Like, he's had some big runs, some explosive runs, and I think he's just touching the surface, And really the walk-on that we moved the running back, Justin Cook, man, like, you're talking about a 3-down back kind of type kid. Like, he's a more rocked-up kid, bigger kid right now, but he's done great in pass pro. He catches out of the backfield because he was like a kick returner, kind of slot receiver at the school he was at, and he shows some toughness, smart kid too. So, I'm excited about that room because I don't think at that position, just honesty, like, I think if you can play young, like, I don't, like, as a freshman, I'm not scared to play young guys at that position. I think, as long as you can come in and do what you're supposed to do, running back's position is more of a field position, right? Like, usually you're just really talented, so, I think that's a position where you can come in and play early as long as you get with Coach Lamar and learn what we're trying to do.
You said during the offseason you kind of decided to stick with these 3 guys at quarterback.
Yeah.
Not bring anybody else in, just develop these guys.
Yeah.
But how much was that influenced by how Julian played in the bowl game, or was that something you were thinking even as soon as the regular season ended?
Yeah, for me, man, like, obviously it had something to do with Julian, right? Because, like, I don't, you don't want to bring in a guy and it hurts him development, right? Just at this position, like, I want people to understand I'm trying to invest in the quarterbacks, right? And we got to be honest with it. Let's just be honest, right? Like, only one quarterback can start. It's the one position where it's like not a receiver where, you can play 3 receivers, 4 receivers. You go 4 wide, 5 wide, right? One guy really plays a lot of times, right? And so, I want to develop those guys. And Coach Dews was on board with that. And my biggest thing is, man, I'm not just going to bring in somebody in here just to bring somebody in, right? Like I don't believe in that, like, if we go get somebody, if that ends up happening, right? Well, then to me, we believe in the kid. Like, I'm not bringing anybody here just to take up a spot. I want to make sure we do right by our kids here first, right? And if we're bringing somebody in, to compete and make the room better, right? Like, we're bringing somebody that we believe that can help us, and push those guys, right, and make them better. So for me, man, that's kind of what I believe in. I don't want to waste time, and hurt developing the players because, bam, you never know as a quarterback when you got to go in the game, right? And a lot of young guys aren't prepared to play because they don't get the reps, and so I want to make sure we do that here.
Year 2 means that all your players have more experience, but also there's a year's worth of film on your offense
Yeah.
out there for the rest of the league. I mean, what kind of stuff did you guys do as a staff to zig when everyone else kind of has some adjustments ready for it?
Yeah, for us, man, we're kind of used to it. If you want to be honest with you, it's just like when I got to Western Carolina, people were, we weren't very good on offense here before, right? And we had some disrespect. People disrespected us early in the year, right? And we showed people that we could get guys open and we could game plan it and make some and create some plays. And so then people start changing, right? We started getting a lot of different stuff, a lot of different coverages and a lot of different fronts. And so it's up to us, right, to understand, okay, now we understand exactly how teams want to play us, right, and what they're going to try to do. And obviously, it's more film on our players, right? Like, okay, what did Eli do well last year? What did he not do well, right? And so we have to do a better job of maybe hiding, right, some of the things he don't do well, and hopefully develop those weaknesses this year, right, things that he didn't do well last year, right? And obviously for me, right, like understand, that's what's tough about, I think, being a really explosive and teams are kind of scared of you offense. We didn't get as much bliss at the end of the year. You just watch the film, we got more 4-man rush, drop 8 stuff, right? So, how can I obviously game plan the defense, right, by watching all this film, but also understand that, hey, this is what they're probably going to do to us, right? Let's make sure we're prepared and be able to make adjustments even faster. Does that make sense? And I think for being year 2 of the offense, we understand the adjustments we need to make as coaches. We now have the iPads, which is awesome, right? But year 1, I think it's a lot harder to make adjustments when your players don't truly ever understand everything you want to do in your system. Does that make sense? And maybe there's some things you can't do in your system yet because it's year 1. You see what I'm saying? So now year 2, maybe we can switch things up quicker or adjust even faster this year, and our kids can handle it because now, okay, we can add more to the playbook. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm excited about, is now be able to, like I said, get those guys where they understand exactly what we're trying to do when we do make those adjustments. And and I know I've said this before, but I'm a lot different than a lot of OCs. I believe in this. My dad believed in this, but I don't script hardly anything at practice. And one of the reasons I do that is because I want our kids to be able to handle adversity, right? Like, can they handle things switching up on them like a game? Because listen, if we can't make an adjustment after the second or third drive of the game, or even the first drive, if we're waiting until halftime, you're going to lose a lot of games. And so our job is to put these guys in tough situations, stress them learning, right, and make them be in uncomfortable situations. So when we do get an uncomfortable situation and we do get a different coverage or something different, can our kids handle the answers? And that's what I want to see us do this year.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
We're good?